Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Shraddha, and on behalf of Tata Teleservices and UBS Forums, I welcome you all for this exclusive meet on Future of Digital Connections, Technology Priorities for Agile Resilient Enterprise. Thank you very much for sparing your time and joining the session today. To set the tone, I would like to introduce our first speaker for the day for keynote session, The Future of Digital Connections for Enterprise. Mr. Santanu Patro, General Manager, Global Head, Cloud and Infrastructure Advisory and Consulting from Wipro Limited. Give him a big round of applause and invite him.
Good morning, everyone. Yes. Today, the topic that we want to talk about is the future of digital connections, right? And we need to understand the technology priorities for the agile, resilient enterprise. Now, let's understand this topic and understanding what do you mean by resilient, right? In this current time, right, where everything is changing in a rapid mode, being relevant and being resilient is a very important factor for a business to run, right? Now, when we talk about the digital aspect of it, right, today, the way the digital business is running, right, there is a blur between the physical and the digital world. And that's how the connections that we are trying to make. And from making a resilient enterprise, when we start making those strategies, right, the first thing that we look into is how do you make sure that there are two things. One is the resilient and the availability part is to ensure the plan and the strategy that we do are modular, so that if anything that happens to any of those modules or impact that happens, it does not spread, right? That's what we call typically as the blast radius. How do you control the blast radius if in case something goes wrong for one of those components? And I believe, all of you would have been in this journey in your own enterprises to understand what is actually happening from a digital transformation perspective. Now let's talk about the digital connection part that we're talking about out here. Now, at any given point in time, today from an enterprise who are going on a journey in the digital journey out here, the first and foremost, the objective is to how do we reach far? Let's talk about the edge locations or furthermore to the end user is all about the connection that you're making from the digital part, right? And what we call that is typically a digital touch points. The objective is my enterprise reaching to those digital touch points. Now, what are the various ways we understand that, right? The first thing that we actually understand, which are my typical touch points from the business that I need to identify and understand the relevance of them and the investment that we need to do or connect to that particular touch points. Now, once we get that done, that's typically when you start building up all of your plannings in terms of the connections, the connectivity, how do you reach there. Now, let's say as we have a typical store, like let's say a luxury watch, for example. Now, what do they talk about today? You can, in earlier days, used to have large showrooms where people used to keep a lot of the physical goods for people to have a touch and feel and then purchase it. Now, if you go to many of those shops today, the size of the shop doesn't matter, right? Because the kiosks available at that particular shop also gives you the whole catalog that they have, so that a customer can actually have a look and feel of it and then go and buy that. Now, that's again, we talk about the digital touch points that an enterprise builds up to expand that particular business. Now, for me, to ensure that that particular kiosk is providing me those right set of information to my customer who is coming in, right, which is not available physically, he has to see that. I need to have a right connectivity in place. I need to have the right, I would say, mechanism to show or display that particular items. Let's say the watch that we are talking about here, a 3D graph of it or a 2D graph of it, talking about all the features, simulating how it looks on a watch, changing the tone of the hand on that particular screen, like a darker or a whitish or a white, and give that feel. And that's where you are enabling a customer without even having a touch and feel and making him buy that, right? And in many of the stores that you see today, the connection, it goes to a much more beyond in terms of the business strategy that is coming in out here, right? You just select it out here. We ensure that you don't have to come to the shop to pick it up. You can come to the shop to pick it up, and still if you don't like, you don't have to pay. You don't have to prepay. You can just only block, or we can deliver it at your home. Those are the last mile business solutions these shopkeepers provide today. So at end of the day, what we understand here is, if my connections or the way the kiosks are connected to the central system, those edge locations, providing those services to the customers is not resilient enough, not available, it will always impact the business and the business growth that we are talking about here, right? And when we talk about, let's talk about the last couple of years, right, from the journey aspect of it. Last 2 years during this COVID, I think so we have seen an acceleration into this kind of initiatives where reaching to my end users through digital platform are becoming more and more, right? And today, when everything has opened up, you still have people preferring to be at home and leverage those particular platform and buy. So a lot of people had started talking about in terms of, once the things open up after the COVID, and people will be back to the brick and mortar and come back and do that purchase accordingly. What we believe is, it might be true, but from the digital platform that we are talking about, people are going to buy, it's going to stay for long and stay forever, I would be, right? And all of your next gen that we're talking about, your Meta, your VR realities and other stuff, it's all about bringing or making those people come into those virtual platform more and get more immersed. And there is a show, I'm not sure, there is a platform I saw from one of the vendor, right? What it talks about is how do you can, wear your virtual reality, and you will actually feel that you're actually walking in a mall, in a shopping complex. You go walk, you go shop, you see a brand out there, you will actually, virtually you are actually inside moving around in a mall, evaluating the products and buying that, right? All of it, as we're talking about the next gen aspect of it. So today, as we say, having this particular, enabling these digital functions or a digital buy or digital expansion of an enterprise is completely dependent on building this particular resilient, or I would say a resilient enterprise, or in ensuring that there is no problem in terms of anything coming like COVID or stuff that comes and impacts the business or the network aspect of it. So thank you. Let me know if you have any questions. Happy to answer that.